Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where we investigate all forms of magic, talk about all kinds of stuff, make cool music, post it, all this AI stuff, which, royals people's feathers. That's what we want. We want royal people's feathers. Make them royal. And also, we investigate all forms of magic and stuff, if I didn't say that already. Talk about the book I wrote. Came out a little while ago called Apex Unhinged. Just Google it. Apex Unhinged by Zeero Xiron. And I'm just kind of impromptu doing this in the morning because it behooves me to talk about how there's all kinds of really foundational things in magic that unfortunately are lost in the shuffle. They get lost in the overall information. And it's startling to me that a lot of people are into certain things and they don't completely understand what they're into. So one topic I really wanted to broach is Aleister Crowley. I've talked about him a little bit on the show. I've made my opinion that I don't like him very much, and I don't. I can't. Ultimately, he's kind of a big piece of shit, and I have to explain why. Because he's very important, and he did some very important things that everybody can benefit from. But ultimately, he's a ham and a con man and a shock rock wannabe kind of guy before that even existed. And well, he wasn't a shock rock wannabe. He was the guy. He was Marilyn Manson was in the 90s. He was that for 1910, 1920. The shocking dude who's in salacious magazine articles, newspaper articles. Ooh, the great beast. Ooh, he calls himself the Antichrist. Now, most people, they don't really know much more than this image, he's the great beast and this, but why? What was he about? So he was pushing guardian angels, he was pushing yoga, and he was pushing monotheism. And it isn't completely clear. Well, I mean, he's got all this Kabbalistic stuff going on, and he takes that framework, and he's very serious about it. So it sure seems like Yahweh cults. See, there's non-Abrahamic monotheism, where you cut yourself off from all those trappings, and you just have the idea of one source, one architect, one starting point, one thing that started everything, which is like what Dr. Zeero promotes. But then there's a Yahweh cult, and he's firmly entrapped in that. So you have to understand that Aleister Crowley was very direct. If you read his writings, the right writings, and he talked about how anything other than gnosis in union with the holy guardian angel is black magic. That's quote. So straight up. You have to realize that. And you have to understand, he also, when you look at yourself as a ceremonial magician type in concert with Yahweh or monotheism, Crowley looked at the thing of the witchcraft renaissance really started to kick up in the 1950s onwards, thanks to Gerald Gardner. So Crowley largely existed before that upswing came. That's another massive misconception. Because, witchcraft is something devoid of zeitgeist. It's a mind frame. It's being in concert with nature. It's being deeper into that, There's all kinds of forms of it or versions of it that have existed throughout history. But modern witches, as we think of them today, that's 1950s onwards. And Crowley was at his peak from the late 1800s to the, late 1920s, 1930s. I mean, he didn't die until if I'm correct, it was the late, like 1947, I think he died, something like that. So he didn't even make it into the 1950s, thereby leaving a legend. Here's the thing that really keeps him going is that he doesn't have any YouTube videos to watch to make him look like a big ham. He doesn't have any recordings. There's no way to gauge, like, we can't see him being interviewed. We can't watch any of these things, which would clearly make him seem a ham. Therefore, he's stuck in static images. And all the images are really spooky and classic looking. So he's got that working for him. See, he was able to control the press by the idea of what he was in an image. That's how easy it was to control the press back then. But of course, they had to feed into it. You weren't going to get into the newspaper unless they really wanted it. And they were sensationalizing him on purpose. So we have to talk about why Aleister Crowley's like full of shit. Why you should like distance yourself from Thelema. And we're talking about how, okay, so Judaism was the original religion. And then Christianity was a cult based on a man on top of that religion. And then the next one that came out with, Muhammad and Allah and all them characters, that was a cult based on top of the Jesus cult. So you have one initiating religion and then two more cults. So what Aleister Crowley did was he dialed it back to, he was raised in this Christian way, didn't believe it, didn't follow it, and he said, "Moo-ha-ha, I'm the Antichrist." Well, what did that mean to him? Well, overthrowing, I guess, all religions in lieu of his new one. And basically what he did was he went back to the source of Yahweh, all this Jewish mysticism stuff, and then he tried to dial it back to more of the Egyptian roots of everything. And, so he made like it's his warped vision of his version of Yahweh, essentially. It's like instead of becoming the Antichrist who abolishes all religions and creates a new one, he kind of goes back to the original one, makes an abstraction of it, and thereby making an abstract tree of life. Because you have to understand his Kabbalistic magic. He reworked the tree of life to his own specifications in order to enact his own vision. He tampered with it. He changed it. He moved things around. He also fucked with the tarot cards, the system that Golden Dawn had created, tried to improve it, make it better, and that's, it has to do with like an astrological double loop thing. It kind of makes sense what he did, but it has to like add in all this astrology shit. And if I'm correct, in Kabbalism, all that astrology shit is kind of like off the table. I know it's included in Book T and the Golden Dawn, but the Golden Dawn is a highly syncretic, appropriating work. So we got to talk let's talk about Crowley here. And of course, he made his Thoth tarot deck in conjunction with this, his new vision of the Tree of Life. So we got to talk about why he's important, why he's, this or that. So the important thing about him is his research, but to a certain degree. Because, okay, so he did do a great job at bringing all sorts of, because here's the thing. Okay, all right, let's back it up even more. There's a big difference between magical technique and magical vision. Now, he was a master about talking about magical technique in the framework that he was presenting, because it's not end all be all. He just has his way of doing it, and it has his system. Okay. So you have to separate things from him. You gotta take everything with a grain of salt, and you kind of gotta like really research it. So that's the essential problem with Aleister Crowley, is that great technical writer, And that's why he's important. But then he's bringing his vision onto the world. And his vision is stinky pants. I don't believe in union with the guardian angel. And again, I don't believe in any gods or goddesses or deities. I'm highly suspect to spirits of any kind. Highly suspect to invisible entities of any kind. Now, maybe they exist, but I can't say for sure because I've never, just can't say for sure. So if you're just not following all that shit, his shit's all pretty much out the window, you know? So it is now the next day, and I just was listening to this again, and some things I need to add. Talking about Thelema. The reason that they can't really say, oh, it's a religion, but it's a philosophy, but it's this or that, and they can't really pin it down. It's because it's magical vision. And that is not something that is a quotable term or something that people know very often, but that's the magical vision encompasses all these things. So unfortunately, I've never had that soundbite attached to it, you know, to make it make more sense. Now I got to talk about the magical vision, what's going on here. And I talked a little bit about warping the tree of life and making more of an abstraction about Yahweh, what it is to him and all that. You know, so his whole thing is that he's merging all this Kabbalistic stuff with his own magical vision and his own quest, which ultimately revolves around his holy guardian angel, which he claims is real and which he claims wrote the book of the law. And this is like bare bones thing. So like if you don't think that humans are special enough, or if you don't believe that, you know, angels can come down and speak through you and speak through your partner and dictate books to you, then Aleister Crowley isn't the one for you, because this whole thing hinges on this. That in the early 1900s, while in Egypt, supposedly his holy guardian angel named Aiwass entered his body and then spoke through him. I think it was through his wife, if I'm correct. It was either him or his wife or whoever. It was Hui. No matter what is Hui. But supposedly his holy guardian angel came down and spoke through one of them and then dictated the book of the law, which is the holy book of Thelema, which they've based their whole thing around. It's this mysterious text that came out that was spoken from an ethereal being from some other plane of existence, because he was so special that had to happen. And for the rest of his life, he pushed this book, and it existed. And it's a load of horse shit, okay? And everybody's all centered around it. So he tried to make like a Kabbalistic number magic system out of the name Aiwass. He tried to make an English-style Kabbalah. He merged all this bullshit research from his holy guardian angel into his magic, all this and that. And I wanted to bring up, okay, so the thing with the I don't know, was it called the OTO? I forget, because it doesn't really matter to me because it's all fucking stupid. But all of Aleister Crowley's early, when he split off from the Golden Dawn and went his own way and it had his own lodges and all that shit. So you have to understand what the Golden Dawn was, what this stuff was. So we're going to dial it back here. This is a little history lesson before I continue onward with a very important thing. Okay, so what the Golden Dawn was, in the way that like the Freemasons or an Eagles Lodge or whatever, they'll have their closed. It's a lodge you join, and then you have closed ceremonies behind closed doors that only members attend. And there's a bunch of like levels to this, right? There's a bunch of ways to keep graduating up and up and up the levels. And the members of the Golden Dawn would act out like this theatrical thing that the student would continue moving upwards through. And you were traveling through the Kabbalistic tree of life, through all the different paths on your way up. And there were different grades of how you could reach in like your magical ascent, how powerful you were, right? So Aleister Crowley stole their research, kind of created his own lodges or lodge or whatever that did the same sort of shit. But in his version of the tree of life on one of the final paths, you had to have butt sex. You had to have butt sex. And it was a non-negotiable thing. Like sodomy was like part of the path on the tree of life. And like that was inserted by him. So you basically, like, in order to graduate on his scheme and his magical sense of ascent, you had to have butt sex with Aleister Crowley. Or just butt sex in general. I'm not really sure. But the very fact that like that is like in there, it's there. Don't believe me? It's there. So number one, you have to have butt sex with a guy or have butt sex with someone else in order to graduate through his system, and in which is all ultimately based on his holy guardian angel, which speaks through him and all this stuff. So anyway, yeah. So this is Aleister Crowley, right? And on top of this, he was telling the whole world that he was Eliphas Levi reincarnated. He was sure of it. Like, if you know who Eliphas Levi is, you'll know how ridiculous that all is completely. It's such a load of hooey. So here you are, a crazy guy telling people that you're a reincarnated guy, writing about extensively about all this kind of like ancient magic that doesn't belong to you and you're getting famous for, but you're just warping it to your own specifications and your own thing. So this is a bunch of hooey. So, all that considered is what I want to say about Aleister Crowley for now. I know I'll think of some other things to add, but I also wanted to extend this to just talk about Anton LaVey for a second. Let's honestly talk about him. Because now, when I was like 15 or something, I found Satanic Bible, and I read it all one day, and I was in love with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking Satanist. Yeah, that's it. Whatever. And I was like all about it. Because I like the idea. It's basically just organized atheism, and it took my mentality. But it's a real downer mentality. He's just ripping off Ragnar Redbeard. There's a book called Might is Right, which is such an asshole way of thinking about the world. That supposedly Jack London may have been the one to write. But there's this book called Might is Right. So you want to read Might is Right, and then you realize, like, Anton LaVey just jacked the entire thing, and then added in just a little bit of minor content about magic in general. Like his bullshit, like, the book of Belial, the book of Leviathan, the book of this and this. And like he gives you like really petty, pathetic rituals. And then the whole time he's talking about, there's only a couple handful of things about magic to know. And he makes it all like toned down and acts like he's like the ultimate authority. Yet it's like he's pushing the very basic things about low magic, very, very basic conceptions. And of course, he's a showman and a carny, and he wanted the spotlight, and he loved the limelight, and he wanted to be a rabble rouser and all those things. And all those are fine because he's a rebel. He's a rebel, and this is America, and you should be your own personality. But to take him and his shit like dead serious, you should see him on old talk shows and stuff. He shows up wearing little devil horns. He's really corny. He has the benefit, again, of static imagery. Like I was talking about Aleister Crowley, because he's got all those cool propaganda shots where it's like him with his shaved head and goatee, and he's got like a snake wrapped around him. And he's like, doing satanic mass and like black robes and this, and like some squatty looking freaky house in like San Francisco. And like, he's a showman, right? So you just kind of got to take it for what it is. I mean, if he says some stuff that you agree with, absorb it. But do you really? I mean, I feel like it's a first step for rebelling against when you're a recovering Christian or Catholic and you're getting away from that stuff. It's cool to rebel with like, this atheistic Satanism stuff. Yeah, so I'm not like against it. Don't get me wrong. Like ultimately, I'm not. But here's why it's corny and why it's corny, dude. It's corny. And the main thing here also, there's two major sins. Well, not that sin exists. Two major mess ups here. Number one, the adoption of the upside down pentagram as a symbol. Because that was never popularized until Anton LaVey did it in the 60s and brought it all out. Now, you have to understand that the upside-down pentagram never existed anywhere, was never used anywhere in any form of magic, until it was brought up in 1854 by Eliphas Levi in Doctrine and Ritual High Magic. He talks about how the upside down pentagram, what that really means. That it means the elements are in control of you. It means your head is in the dirt. When you point the crown tippy top downwards, it means your head is in the dirt and the elements are in control of you. That's why it's the demonic symbol, because the demonic is supposed to be dumb and out of control and all those such things. That's what Eliphas Levi talks about. And how it's just not a good thing. It's idiocy. That's what it stands for. A total, like, spiritual idiocy, all these things. It has nothing to do with self-godhood. It has nothing to do with Anton LaVey or any of that shit. When it first appears, it's just like, and what it meant was just you're a shitty magician and you don't know what you're doing. That's what that symbol meant. It meant like the magician was completely out of whack and has no idea what the fuck they're doing. So that's what that is. When you wear that symbol, that's what it is. And Anton LaVey picked it up and said, oh, it's the Church of Satan logo and it's the demonic logo. And I don't know if he's the one specifically who brought Baphomet and turned him into like satanic goat Baphomet, because Baphomet, again, it comes from Eliphas Levi. He's the guy who created the thing. Now, so the name Baphomet goes back to the Knights Templar. And what happened was there was a king who wanted to wipe out the Knights Templar because they were too powerful. So the king backstabbed them and wiped them all out, had them all killed and stuff, and started charging that they were secretly in concert with a conspiracy with a pagan idol of worship called Baphomet. And they were like torturing people and trying to get confessions out of them and stuff, and killing people and stuff, and forcing them. Torture a guy enough, he's going to tell you whatever you want to hear. And that's what they did. And they framed them as worshipers of Baphomet. And then it was forgotten to history for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And then Eliphas Levi pulled it out of his ass. And he said that first he gives the Baphomet, the drawing, which he created, the famous one, and he puts that in Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic. And he talks about how it represents the astral light and a great agent of magic. And he's really, really vague, and he barely talks about it. But then he's got another book called Book of Splendor, where he has a chapter devoted to Baphomet. And he explains very thoroughly what it is and what's coming from. It's a sphinx that represents like alchemical knowledge, right? It has alchemical stuff going on. But he represents the rear side of God. And God is what is worshipped when you use the symbol. It's like Yahweh Christian source God is like the idea here, because Eliphas Levi had trained to be a Catholic priest and was a hardcore Catholic, right? He was a Catholic clergyman. He just wasn't all the way priest because he didn't want to be celibate. That was the main contention. But he was a fanatic regardless, right? With his own wild fantasy magic world that he was writing about. And he created this thing, and he said that the reason why is because, if I got the story right, the Jewish people, they were like, couldn't draw God or whatever. It was, so they would draw cherubs that were like half animal and were like sphinxes. And they supposedly had drawn these on the side of the Ark of the Covenant. And that's what is on the side of the Ark of the Covenant is sphinxes, Jewish sphinxes. And that's what Baphomet is. And then after like 100-something years, it's like, oh, he's the black goat of Satan on a throne. No, that's not the thing here. Now you talk about, the black goat and Satan in the classic old pilgrim witchcraft mentality. That's different, because they believed that witches were in concert with the devil, that they were actively participating, because Christian fanaticism was totalitarian for them. And they lived in a totally paranoid, freaked out state where all that shit was really, really real to them. So, I mean, that's their take of a witch. So, what else to say about Aleister Crowley? I mean, I could sit here and talk about all the dibble-dabbles, but I just really wanted to nail the main points there, because, I mean, you can think whatever you want, but it's really hard to get around all the criticisms that I just brought up. So if anybody out there is listening, which I know you are, I hope you are, blah, 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 when it comes to Crowley, just learn what you can from him and move on. Because you will learn things, and they are important. But as I said, he's quite the mess. So anyway, that's it for the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show. Stay tuned for more awesome adventures. And here's the hot rockin' outro all about Aleister Crowley. All right, bye-bye.
Black top, baby. Hip, hip,